For 3 days, the old man had been sitting at the airport terminal, and no one knew why he was there or what he was waiting for. He always sat in the same seat, looking out the window with a thoughtful expression. The airport staff noticed him and grew more curious about his story as time went by. They tried to talk to him, but he stayed quiet and didn't say much, leaving them to wonder about his secrets and why he had come to the terminal. As time passed, the airport staff became more and more fascinated by the mysterious old man who seemed lost in his own world. They had been closely observing him for several days, but he remained a mystery. Camela, a young and curious airport staff member, was taken aback to find the old man still sitting on the same bench she had seen him on before. The old man looked like he had been sleeping there, but nobody knew why he chose to stay in the airport for so long or what his motive was. Camela's curiosity was piqued by the presence of an old man, but she felt hesitant to approach him. She decided that it would be more prudent to observe the situation and wait for any signs that the old man might need assistance or be leaving soon. Despite this, some of his colleagues were becoming increasingly restless and impatient, urging him to take action. As the staff members gathered, one of them said, "It's time. We need answers from him." Some even want security to remove him. They had been watching the old man who had been sitting in the airport lounge for hours, seemingly waiting for someone or something. Camela, one of the senior staff members present, knew that using force wasn't the right way. She felt that the old man had a very important reason for staying at the airport for so long. So she decided to approach him herself to find out what was going on. Camela noticed the old man sitting alone, staring blankly out of the window. Concerned, she approached him, sat down next to him, and politely introduced herself. She asked if everything was all right. The old man looked up with a somber expression, indicating something was terribly wrong. Despite the staff's surprise at the old man's emotional state, Camela sensed he had a lot on his mind and needed help. They brought him food and drinks, but he hardly touched them. They even offered to help him find a hotel, but he refused, saying he couldn't leave the airport. On the third day, the old man finally spoke. He called over Camela. She sat down beside him, not sure what to expect. The dark truth he revealed would change her life forever. Camela Whittaker's childhood was anything but normal. Her parents were always traveling, leaving her with nannies, friends, and family members. Instead of feeling neglected or lonely, she was fascinated by the stories her parents brought back from their travels, sparking her passion for seeing new countries and cultures. She would spend hours poring over their photos and souvenirs, dreaming of the day when she could explore the world herself. She knew that she would soon achieve her dreams. As soon as she turned 18, Camela decided to follow her dreams. She got her parents' approval and started the journey to becoming a flight attendant. She started off as a junior member of the staff, but her talent and dedication quickly earned her promotions, and she eventually became a respected senior member at Gerald R. Ford International Airport in her hometown of Grand Rapids. Camela loved her job. She enjoyed meeting new people and visiting new places. She was always up for a challenge, and nothing fazed her. But she had no idea what was coming her way. One day, while working on a flight to London, Camela noticed a passenger in distress. The man was sweating heavily and clutching his chest. Camela quickly alerted the captain and crew. They assessed the situation and realized the man was having a heart attack. Camela sprang into action. With her emergency training, she helped the man lie down comfortably and called for a doctor on board. Luckily, a doctor was present and came to help. Camela stayed with the man throughout the flight, monitoring his condition. When they landed in London, she accompanied him to the hospital to ensure he received the best care. The incident stayed with Camela long after the flight. She realized how important her job was and how much she could impact people's lives. She knew she had found her calling and was determined to be the best flight attendant she could be. Over the years, Camela faced many challenges and emergencies, from medical issues to unruly passengers. She always stayed calm and put her passengers' safety first. Camela loved traveling the world and making a difference in others' lives. She never forgot the lessons from that flight to London and was grateful for her job. But one day, after returning to the airport from a flight, she saw something unexpected. An old man was sitting in the waiting area, looking sad. Maybe he had just said goodbye to a loved one. Camela didn't think much of it and continued her busy schedule. After a domestic flight to Detroit, she returned to Grand Rapids and saw the old man in the same spot as before, still sitting in the same place. She thought it was odd since she had been gone for hours, but he was still there. Camela continued the week, but the rest of the airport staff had also noticed the old man. It seemed like he wasn't going anywhere, but the flight attendant was blissfully unaware of the dark truth. As the staff members huddled nervously together, their eyes glued to the old man, one of them finally gathered the courage to speak up. "Camela," he said urgently, "we need answers from him. Some of us even want him taken out by security." Camela knew that he was right, but she didn't want them to resort to violence. The group had been watching the elderly man for hours as he sat alone in the airport lounge, staring at the arrivals board. Despite his calm demeanor, something about him made the staff uneasy. They knew they had to ask him about his intentions before it was too late. With the airport in a tense situation, Camela, one of the senior staff members, took charge. She stayed calm, knowing violence wasn't the answer. She felt that the elderly man had a significant reason for staying at the airport so long. Driven by responsibility and curiosity, she decided to approach him directly. As she walked toward her gate, she noticed the old man sitting alone, staring out the window with a somber expression and tears in his eyes. Camela's heart sank with concern and compassion. She walked over, sat beside him, and introduced herself politely. She asked how he was, noticing something was wrong. The old man, with a heavy heart, shook his head, indicating everything was not right. The staff waited anxiously behind her. Camela saw that the airport staff were surprised by the old man's emotional state, but she sensed he needed help. Despite their offers of food and drink, the old man barely touched anything. When the staff suggested finding him a hotel, he declined, saying he couldn't bear to leave the airport. After 3 days of silence, Camela had almost given up hope of ever finding out the reason why the old man was lingering at the airport. But on the third day, he suddenly beckoned her over. Camela felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity as she sat down beside him, wondering what he was about to reveal. Finally, the old man broke his silence and shared a dark truth that would have a profound impact on Camela's life. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, leaving Camela with more questions than answers. "I've been waiting for my son," the old man said, his voice shaking. "He was supposed to come home from Afghanistan yesterday. His flight was supposed to land here, but I haven't heard from him. I don't know what's happened to him." The staff gathered around the old man, searching through databases and making phone calls. They reached out to the military and the embassy, trying to find any information. Camela even made an announcement over the loudspeaker, asking anyone who knew where the old man's son was to come forward. Hours passed, and the old man waited anxiously for news. Finally, as the airport was closing for the night, a man in uniform approached him. He introduced himself as a member of the military and told the old man that his son had been injured in combat and was being treated at a nearby hospital. The old man broke down in tears, relieved and grateful. The staff watched as he was led away, knowing they had made a difference in his life. A week later, Camela asked about the old man's son and learned his name was Alfred. Alfred had spent the last week by his son's hospital bed. Thankfully, the doctors expected his son to make a full recovery. Camela even visited them and brought flowers. She was glad that the old man had a happy ending.